Welcome to episode 30 of the Harsch Review Podcast, a TV and movie review podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and with me, as always, is my brother, Sean. How's it going today, Sean?
Hey, pretty good, Ryan. How you doing?
Hey, I'm pretty good, sir. What have you been up to? Yeah.
Oh, nothing too much. Just want to say welcome, everybody. If you're new to the podcast here, this is our 30th episode. We don't have anything exciting planned for you, but we like to get together, talk about all things TV, movies, entertainment, and all that stuff. So welcome. Anyway, just got back from spending a week in New Orleans myself. Much needed vacation time, first one of the year.
So not a business trip. This is all pleasure.
Yeah, all pleasure. No business this time, but picked probably one of the worst times of year to go because it was hot as balls out there.
Let's go to the South in the summer, Sean. That's
great idea.
Yeah,
nice weather up here in Seattle. You go out there and it's 95 to 100 every day. Humidity pushes it up to feeling like, it feels like 110. Taking 3 showers a day. Went through like 4 jugs of Gold Bond. But nice. Outside of that, had a great time. Never been before. Very, very fun city.
What did you see or do that really struck you the most?
Well, it's the 300th year of the city, so I had no idea it was that old. It started in 1718. Oldest city, I think, in the country, and there's a lot of cool things. So did a lot of historical tours and checked out a lot of cool things like that around town. Went to the Preservation Hall, watched a jazz show, ate lots of great food. Probably ate maybe like 80 oysters. While I was there. Toured a couple plantations, which are really cool. Very interesting. Big money makers out there for that economy. There's a lot of them. And that was pretty cool to kind of go and just check out and get some history and see a lot of visuals. What I thought was really cool is that never actually going to the Big Easy or seeing that kind of stuff. The tie-in to maybe the film references is seeing how much was actually inspired out there. Like Bad Lieutenant 2, Port of Call, New Orleans. That is exactly what I had on my mind.
Nick Cage.
I actually don't know too many movies that were really filmed in New Orleans. I know that, was it David Simon or who was it that did the HBO show Treme, on New Orleans. New Orleans, sorry.
That's a good show.
Yeah, I've only seen a few episodes of it when it was new, but I haven't watched that one. But maybe I need to go back and give it another shake.
Yeah.
Just, spent a lot of time in the French Quarter. It's just crazy how banging that place is like on a Monday night. They just close off Bourbon Street and just drunks and whores walking up and down. And it's exactly as you would expect.
Mardi Gras is like not much more than, I guess, just more people, right?
I don't know if I could do Mardi Gras there.
Yeah,
I've seen enough Mardi Gras by watching Cops on TV. Those are some of the best episodes with the cops and the horses.
Oh, always.
And the town has like this stank to it, at least in the French, in the French Quarter it did. It just kind of has that New York sewage smell, but a little bit differently, where it's like a combination of sun-soaked beer on the ground and urine and vomit with like
mildew,
sewage, and it's this weird stank. And there's it's this weird eclectic mix of people. You get some really shady, drug addict looking dudes, and then you got some upper class. It's all kinds of different races and stereotypes, and very eclectic. Definitely, if nobody's been, strongly suggest that. And then went to the World War II museum out there, and that was one of the only movies I watched that week. Was this Tom Hanks did a movie for them, or he narrated the movies, should I say. John Goodman was also a narration during it. It's like an hour long. It's like a 4D cinema experience.
Okay.
And you kind of go into this room, right? And it's this little small room. You pay like $6 to see this thing, so it's not a bad deal. And then there's all these vertical flat screens. There's like 8 of them on the screen, and Tom Hanks shows up and he does like this little, "Hey, I'm Tom Hanks," and
like,
tells
no
you
shit.
he tells you about the I know. You see him and we're like, "Yeah, we know who you are, pal."
Yeah.
It's got his name up there and everything, like we don't know. But I mean, there's a lot of tourists, so maybe they don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he kind of tells this whole intro and gives you this whole spiel about all the events that led up to the war, right up to the point to where America got involved, and then that movie little ends, and then they open up doors on the left and right, and then you walk into this legitimate movie theater. It's probably like 20 rows deep, different sections, and it's got like its normal screen.
The real Tom Hanks walks out. He's like, "Hi, I'm Tom Hanks again."
Yeah, you might remember me from such
You
films
just saw me
as,
a minute ago.
Yeah. Mommy, what's wrong with that man's face? Alice goes through the windshield. No, and so yeah, no Troy McClure moments there, but so the movie kind of starts out right, and he's narrating the whole thing. He didn't do it in person, and it's got like these 3 little smaller screens in front that pull up like quotes and the person's name of who's talking. And then there's all these little props that come up from like the front of the movie screen. And I guess it's 4D, and it kind of worked where the front screen was your normal projection type screen, but then there was 2 more screens behind it. So they were semi-transparent, and they had different layers of projection that gave you like this 3D stereoscopic type effect. And then the screens opened up to be about 180 degrees. So it was this huge winding, old school looking curved screen. So if you're in the right spot, it was 180 degrees, far left, far right. Your whole peripherals was this giant wide
like
screen.
Cinerama Dome kind of.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they had another part that, they were doing this part with talking about the B-2 bombers, and they lowered down the front half of a bomber and lined it up perfectly in front of the screen. And then the screen was like projecting like it flying, and they kind of, it was cheesy. I mean, it was cool at the same time, but it didn't quite have like the impact I think they were going for.
At least it didn't like fall on everybody.
No, it was in front. Like, so I just never
like the
seen
Spider-Man musical. It kind of
with U2. Yeah. Whoops, bad call, Bono.
Yeah, I guess he died.
Not even the Edge can bring this one back from the death.
No,
but I've never had that type of 4D experience. Some parts worked really well. Like they had part where it's like showing in Russia, and then it gets really cold in the theater, and they're like in the snow, and they're dropping snow from the ceiling. There are other parts where it like smells like gasoline, and different smells and scents and sounds and different lights and explosions and stuff like that all around you. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Seemed a little outdated. But that was my movie experience for the week.
Very
down
cool.
in New Orleans. Yeah, I think the only other 4D, or I don't even know if that, no, not 4D. I saw Pacific Rim sitting in one of those like vibrating moving chairs at a movie theater once.
Was it like some guy underneath just like shaking the chair every now and then?
It might as well be. It didn't.
Yeah.
It was weird. I didn't do it again.
The first time you're probably like, whoa, what's going on? Like,
well, they take 3 rows and they gut them, and then they put in like a single row of these big ass chairs that look like on a little lazy boy thing,
like
and you sit up, you can't lean
chairs.
back, and then you got to buckle in. And then as you're watching the movie, it's tilting left and right, back and forth, and shaking and stuff. And like after 10 minutes, you're like, all right, I'm over this. But
yeah,
I'm just sitting there trying to eat popcorn, and it's just shaking out everywhere, and your big gulps going crazy, and I'm like, this isn't working for me.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only other time I've had that type of interactive.
You got to pay like significantly extra for that, or.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yeah, that one runs you extra $10 to basically keep your colon shaken loose.
Nice.
Yeah, you had to pee like 20 minutes earlier than you should have.
Right.
But yeah, those are those days. So I haven't watched as much as I normally would. And I'm just going to let you know now, I'm going to disappoint you that I had not accomplished my mission given to me back on episode 27 to watch Carnage.
Oh.
But we'll get to that later. I know.
I had given you a different one, and then That's like you can't find that one anywhere.
Yeah,
So,
I tried. I even tried to buy it used.
Yeah.
What was that movie you initially gave me?
Death and the Maiden.
I tried my best to get a hold of that.
It's a great movie. I don't know why it's phased out. I don't know if it has something to do with the director of the movie.
It's got once I saw that it was a Polanski film.
Yeah, and then when I gave you Carnage, like I did it kind of unconsciously, and I was like, oh wait, he directed that one too.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
and it doesn't really, it's not really affecting the movie. It's just kind of weird that this guy,
Sure.
I don't need to go over the whole story, but.
So we'll still get to that part later, but I'll pick up that one this week.
I watched my movie, Sean.
I know. We'll get to that.
I did my job.
What about you? Anything new with you?
Oh, yeah. I got tons of stuff I watched. So let's see here. Pull up my list. I watched Goliath Season 2 on Amazon Prime with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, I liked the first season.
So good. And the second one's great. Second one's a little different, but it's got like a different kind of angle to it, but I did like it. It's got a really creepy turn from this guy, Mark Duplass, who he's him and his brother. They make a lot of indie movies. I think they executive produced Wild Wild Country, but he's in it. He's really creepy. Like he's probably the best part of the show, honestly. But yeah, I really liked it. I kind of watched the whole thing like in a day, actually. I think I just had,
you burned through it. How many episodes was that one?
I think it's 10. Yeah, 8 to 10 episodes. So I went through it pretty quick, but definitely very enjoyable. Like the first one, I guess, I think he won something for that, right? Like he won an Emmy or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Give it to him if he didn't.
Yeah, he's great. I like Billy. I've always liked Billy Bob Thornton. All the way back to
typically picks pretty good movies, but he's had a string of some weird choices.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that when he got the shit kicked out of him by Val Kilmer way back in Tombstone.
That's right.
That was him way back then, and then when he's like almost unrecognizable in Sling Blade.
What you thinking about?
Yeah,
thinking about eating some of them French fried potatoes
with a mustard.
Mm-hmm.
Two guys standing on a bridge making water.
Some folks call it a Kaiser blade.
I think one of them from California. Great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so check it out, Goliath Season 2. Definitely worth watching.
Amazon, right?
Yeah, Amazon Prime. It just came out like maybe a week and a half ago.
It's been I've seen a lot of advertisements for it on some other Amazon stuff, so
yeah.
Good. I'm glad they made another one. I need to watch that.
Yeah, got that.
Yeah, what is so for those who haven't seen Goliath, give me the basic premise of it.
Basically like Billy Bob, and he does this kind of role a lot, like this like a drunken sad sack, like a lot of potential, but not really living up to it. So, he's like this once, widely acclaimed lawyer, and he's fallen on hard times. He's just kind of a drunk now. He's working out of a Santa Monica hotel room or motel room rather. And, season 1, I mean, I think it's called Goliath just because of the weight of the cases he's taken on, so he would, if you follow your Bible studies, kids, there's Goliath and then there's little David. And so he's basically taken on in the first season, like a, mega corporation. And this second season, it's like he's taken on, bigger stuff with the city, with the police force, with the drug cartels and things like that. So it's, it's definitely like if you like courtroom dramas, it's more or less a courtroom drama, but with a kind of a spin to it. So there's a lot of other stuff going on that's not just in a courtroom.
It reminded me of a different take on like a Better Call Saul type of thing where
sure
you have a big lawyer's fall from grace, but he still has all the chops of being like one of the best lawyers in the country.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely liked what they did with his character, and there's a lot of good character development around it because if he's not interesting, the whole show falls apart. But he does a good job of keeping it interesting.
But it's not a big spoiler, but first episode, Goliath Season 2, Lou Diamond Phillips.
Woo!
Yeah, and he's looking.
See the size of that chicken?
Yeah, he's looking pretty up there,
Yeah.
Chavez with the knives from Young Guns.
Yeah. He was
yeah.
a badass in that movie.
Yeah, if we ever, I mean, I don't know if you've seen enough Westerns, but if we ever did a Western, episode, that one would definitely be up there.
Let's put it on the books.
Very much a classic. But yeah, he pops up in there. Like I said, Mark Duplass is a good, really creepy kind of psychopath.
Now, where do I know that guy from?
He's on a show. I forgot the name of it. But he's like, you haven't really seen him too much on a lot of stuff. He's more, like I said, he's a director. But he's done like different things. He's always just shows up in a lot of indie movies, is kind of playing a dick. So yeah, I mean, look him up. You'll probably recognize his face. Yeah, he's in The League. That's it. It's an FX show.
The League.
Yeah, a little comedy show, but yeah, he's good. Like in this one, he's pretty creepy, man.
Yeah, okay. I recognize him, but I don't know where I know him from.
Yeah, one of those got that face. You're like, I don't know this guy.
He was in a movie called Duck Butter.
Oh yeah, that movie. Duck, whatever that is.
Yeah, that sounds a bit. Anyway, butter. Moving on.
All right, duck butter.
duck butter.
I got that duck butter with my French fried potatoes.
Yep.
So I got Goliath. I watched the rest of Westworld season 2.
Oh, how is it? I haven't seen any of it yet.
Oh man, I mean, I know, like I was kind of reading stuff on it. A lot of people don't know how to feel about it. It's just kind of like, honestly, it's all over the place in terms of the timelines. But I, for one, really liked it. I kind of felt the way you feel about Fargo season 2. Westworld season 2. It's not perfect though by any means, but there's some great, like really cool acting moments in it. The cool thing about this show is that the actors that play the hosts or the androids, you get to see them play kind of different, even though they're playing the same character, you get to see kind of a different range because sometimes they're programmed to act differently. So you get to see it like a lot of different, pretty wide spectrum of behaviors from these actors. So really cool. It's just, you really have to kind of follow it. I mean, so it's not like you can just have it kind of put it on and mess around on your phone and watch it out the corner of your eye. You really have to follow it. I had to do some internet consulting a couple times when I was watching this. So, yeah, I really liked it. I'm probably going to have to go back and watch it again. It's just, the end of it leaves it up for probably a season 3. So we'll see. But it's kind of reminding me of like what I like about Ex Machina, where you're dealing with something that's pretty topical. Can artificial intelligence have feelings? Can they display emotions? Where have we gone with this and where are we going? So
gotcha.
Really cool. And I mean, I haven't really been following. I know we talked a while ago about how they're going to spoil the show early in anticipation of people spoiling it anyway. So
did they? Did you experience any of that?
No, well, I just kind of stayed away from that. I was like, yeah, like with the show, for one thing, I didn't really start watching it until it was well into the, because they're only doing one episode a week when they're putting it out. So I didn't start watching it probably until around episode 8 or 9 was out, and it's a 10 episode run for this season. So I just kind of stayed away from that. It was in the back of my mind. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to that when I have some time. I'll just sit down and start watching all of them. But it's really heavy. It's not kind of a show you can really binge, because each episode, it's a little over an hour. So each episode kind of feels like a little movie unto itself. There's a lot going on. A lot of really cool like characterizations, but you really need to digest what's happening and kind of be like, okay, I'm ready for the next one, instead of just like a Goliath where you can just like, all right, I want to see what happens next. Let's keep doing this. Westworld, it takes you a little while, but it's well worth it, I think, for me.
And how did you? I mean, I saw some. I wouldn't say spoilers, but I saw some mixed feelings on the finale. What was without spoiling anything? What's your feeling on that?
I liked the finale. It was good. You could kind of see it a little bit happening, but I liked it. I mean, a lot of people go into these shows with high expectations, That's just my take on it.
They all want like a big wow moment, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you kind of go into it with nothing and just be, all right, let's see what happens, and then, okay, cool, that's whatever, But I think a lot of people just kind of, they spend a little too much time on digesting these shows, dissecting these shows, going over every little nuance. I think if you just kind of take each episode for what it is, look at how it progresses the storyline, and then examine other elements like the acting and the storyline rather than just like what spoilers are happening or what's happening to this person, I think you'll get a lot more out of it. We all know HBO makes quality shows, so that's not an argument here. It's just whatever you're going to get into it is what you put into it, or whatever you're going to get out of it, is what you put into it. So
yeah, that's true.
Don't want to spoil it though. You'll find that on the internet.
Yeah, I need to figure out how I'm going to get HBO again now that I don't have cable. I think I can do it with Amazon. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, you could do it through Amazon. You could do HBO Now.
Yeah, but that's like it's not Apple TV. It's like iPad, like smartphone type of. If I
no, you could
computer.
I have it through PS4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think they've activated it for Apple TV.
Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to keep everything in one ecosystem, but
I hear you. Yeah. No, it's there. A couple days ago, went to see Sicario 2.
Oh, that's right. It just came out.
Yeah. I think the first one's like, to me, it's kind of like a masterpiece. It's a great movie. Just in a lot of elements, and the director Villeneuve, who we've talked about,
sure,
takes this kind of current topic and makes it a very heady kind of movie. So Sicario 2, different director, different cinematographer. The first one had Deakins, who we like a lot. He wasn't in the second one. As far as the sound and the music goes, the guy who did the original Sicario passed away. So, but a lot of the same music elements are in it. Same screenwriter though. So Taylor Sheridan, he's done other movies that I really like. He did Wind River. He did Hell or High Water. He did the first Sicario. And then I found out he wrote on Sons of Anarchy, which I don't know how you feel about that show, Sean. But
I watched the whole thing. It had potential, but then it just got so.
It's just like
so cheeseball with the whole stereotype. Like, how can these people just get away with this?
That's
I'm having a hard time buying
my
this.
Funniest thing was like whenever something happened and the cops were like, "So guys, like, do you know who did this?" And they're like, "No, we don't." It's like, you guys are the only motorcycle gang in town, and you don't know who did this.
Yeah, no idea.
No, I don't know, man. We were just at the shop working on the.
It's like, just go blow up the damn shop already.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so a lot of implausibility. But this guy Taylor Sheridan did write the new Sicario, and so it's definitely a good movie. If you're looking for tension and suspense, great acting all around. You have Thanos, you have Benicio del Toro.
Thanos.
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, he's in everything, man.
Yeah, he's good. I like him. It's very, very enjoyable. The ending to me seemed a little tacked on.
Okay.
That's my only really big complaint. But it's a good movie. I mean, it really shows you kind of what we're dealing with in that issue. So with cartels and the management of the border. So it kind of came out at the right time, considering all the stuff that's been going on in the news last couple of weeks. But we're not a news podcast, Sean. We're a movies and TV podcast. So
we're going to change that.
I'm not going to get into all this politics on this show.
I'm not going to get into them
politics. Leave that to the professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a great movie. I mean, you don't have to go in there knowing all this stuff already. So
any good trailers or anything that you saw?
No, I find that when I go to the movies and I don't remember the trailers, usually they're not that good.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing really grabbed me, honestly. It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out.
Yeah, I know there's Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is coming out this week. And I know the Jurassic World just came out, but I haven't gone and seen that one yet.
No, I heard it was all right.
Yeah, we'll see. I have no expectations for that.
I'll let you see it first, and I'll
thanks.
decide if I want to spend my hard-earned money on it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah, so that's 3 things I watched. I got a whole bunch of other stuff, but I can always just pile those up for the next episode.
Yeah, well, we can keep talking. We're in no rush here. So,
yeah,
I'll go over a couple that I did see.
Okay.
Just to kind of, pass it back and forth. But I watched a beautiful gem on the airplane.
Beautiful.
Thanks
gem.
to Alaska. It's called Geostorm. And basically it's with Jerry Butler, and it's Jim Sturgis.
William Neeson.
Yeah. So starting the dude from 300.
David Hoffman.
And basically, when a network of satellites designed to control the global climate starts to attack Earth, it's a race against the clock for its creator to uncover the real threat before a worldwide geostorm wipes out everything and everyone. So it's one of those disaster movies. It's also got Ed Harris, Andy Garcia.
Love
and
Ed
the second
Harris.
you see like Ed Harris on screen, you're like,
he's a craggy old man now.
yeah, he's the bad guy.
Kind of been.
Yeah. Oh, bad guy. You know it right away, even though they try to hide it.
Like the way the camera kind of swoops in, you're like, yeah.
It's just
that's him.
That badger glare he has, where you just kind of know right away, like, yeah, he's an asshole. But he's in the government, and he's got some. I don't know. They got this thing called like Dutch Boy, that's like this huge space station, and the Earth is kind of surrounded by like a network of satellites, all on some huge grid. So imagine like taking the globe and then putting a wireframe around it, so to speak. And
like
all
under
those
the dome.
Yeah. It's like all those satellites and stuff like help control the climate, and where people are, they can make deserts lush again and all that kind of stuff. So the, Gerald Butler's character is like this, Gerard Butler. Sorry, it's a Gerard or whatever.
Say Butler. Let's call him Butler.
Yeah, Butler.
So, I tell we're not doing so good on first names of this show.
Yeah, no, this dude,
Mr. Butler and
he's
Mr.
like,
Harris.
yeah, he's like a shitty dad who has all these broken promises and leaves the job to his like hipster younger brother.
Nice.
And then eventually gets called back into service, kind of like Bruce Willis's character in Armageddon, very similar. And so he goes up there because someone's trying to sabotage it, and this thing is like making places an Arctic, turns the desert into an Arctic, and all these things like that. So it's like attacking the planet, and this is part of like Ed Harris's plan. So I don't mind spoiling this movie, just so you know it's terrible.
Oh, please do.
But it was entertaining for a couple Bloody Marys and an air flight to New Orleans, and Geostorm hit the spot. So yeah, it was entertaining. It was kind of really just dumb in a lot of ways.
I've never even heard of this movie.
Yeah, I didn't either until I saw it.
At all. Like I didn't even hear like a little inkling of it. It's just Geostorm.
What do you think? Like, there's this movie with Ed Harris, Andy Garcia.
Yeah,
and Gerard Butler,
Mr. Butler,
Gary Butler, and so there's Geostorm.
David Hoffman.
It's a total popcorn movie. If you're bored and you want to see it, and it's $1, it's totally worth it. Outside of that, there's really not a whole lot going for it. So, what I also watched the Pixar Story with our buddy John Lasseter. That
handler.
In hindsight, like watching interviews with him, I mean, it's a good documentary. There's a lot of Steve Jobs talking about it, because Pixar wouldn't be Pixar without Steve Jobs, and the potential he saw in that company and the investments that he made to keep the company alive and pretty much become a part of an owner of that. But it's a really good story, because that's the very first time computer animation films were essentially full feature films, and Pixar started all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting watching that journey and all these computer nerds and watching them work on all this old 90s equipment. interviews with our friend Tom Hanks and Tim Allen and stuff, talking about their impressions when they were doing, Woody and Buzz for Toy Story, and how they didn't quite understand it. You couldn't see the final product until like a year after you went and did all your voice work. So it was an interesting story to watch. I saw it on Alaska, so it's a document that's out there somewhere. But if you're into computers, animation, and period, it's really good to watch. If you're a fan of Disney or Pixar or just even Steve Jobs, it's fun to watch. But if you don't really care about any of that, then move on. I like learning a lot about
nothing about John Lasseter and his pervy tendencies.
No, but I mean, it's a shame that guy's going away, because he was really talented, and he really single-handedly almost created the vision for what it takes to actually make a totally CGI-based feature film.
Yeah, he's a giant pervert.
And he just gets a bit handsy when he's working, right? So, but a lot of people at Disney saw him as like the second incarnation of Walt Disney. Like he's that talented, and he was that good at telling stories.
Minus the anti-Semitism and the 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
Yes, minus that. So it is a bit of a sour note on somebody's potential that he has to leave. But when you see him interviewed and stuff, it does. I mean, I know I'm reading into it way too much, but he does have just a weird vibe about him. I think he's just really into himself. You could just see like how proud he is, and just kind of portrays like just this huge ego and arrogance in a sense. But he's really intelligent and he's really talented. So once you get past the large Hawaiian shirts in the hands, you can kind of see that he's a bit of an animation genius in that respect. Talked about a lot of other great directors like Brad Bird and stuff that kind of came from that same era, and seeing the content with Steve Jobs was really cool, because there's a lot in there that I didn't know about him. I knew he had a huge involvement in Pixar, but didn't really know how intimate he really was with everything. So it's that
guy was great.
That one.
Yeah,
he was. And then the last one that I saw on the plane was Goodbye, Christopher Robin.
Okay.
I there's almost everything they had I've seen. So I try to watch something that I haven't seen, even if it's nothing that I initially would be interested in. And this is kind of a true behind-the-scenes look at the A.A. Milne. He's the guy who created Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more of a drama in the sense where it focuses more on the author and less on Winnie the Pooh. But why Winnie the Pooh was just crushing it when it came out in the 20s and 30s and all that kind of stuff. And he essentially made it for his kid. He was like just this author that was kind of struggling a little bit. And so he was falling around and watching his kid's imagination with his stuffed toys and stuff like that, and created Winnie the Pooh from that. It also has Margot Robbie in it as his Domhnall Gleeson's the main actor, so you know him from Ex Machina.
Does he look all weird, like different, like he does in every movie he's in?
It's interesting because, first of all, she's not like somebody you would buy as like being his wife.
Yeah.
And so she does a great job in it, and he does a good job too, but they start off with this, let's age them 30 years. Oh. And you kind of look at it going like, whoa, hold on a minute. Is the whole movie like this? You could clearly see the makeup and just the bad costume designs and stuff like that. So that was a little bit weird. Then they switched towards him living in the city. He's like he was in the army in World War I. And,
is he a Brit guy?
Yeah. Okay. And he's seen some shit. And so a lot of the times it's him dealing with his anxiety and these panic attacks and these crazy flashbacks that he has. So he's like a very tortured mind. And he's a really shitty father. But a lot of it is because he's just mentally like traumatized. So to him, to manage his PTSD, they moved to the countryside out of the city. And so he's out there, and it's just him and his wife, his kid, and then they hire a caretaker that kind of lives with him and looks after the kid.
Okay.
And so the whole time he's struggling with it, he can't write anything. And so by some circumstance, he's stuck being with just one-on-one with his kid, which is like very weird because he doesn't really have any interest in that type of relationship with him.
He doesn't care about the kid.
Not really. And, his wife goes off to, party in town while he does his thing. And so that's where he kind of got the inspiration and wrote Winnie the Pooh. And it was something that people use to kind of escape from the traumas of the war and the depression and all those different types of things.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting story because nowadays, if you know what Winnie the Pooh is, it's just this little fat, bear pig thing. He's a little bear. He's got the little pig, and then they got the depressant Eeyore guy, and then they have the crackhead on Tigger.
Eeyore.
Yeah, then the owl, the bird. I don't know, who else am I forgetting? I think that's all. I think that's him. And then
Sneezy.
Who?
Sneezy. Oh, wait, no, that's the Seven Drawers.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not Sneezy.
Dopey, grumpy.
Yeah, but anyway, so it was a interesting kind of story. It kept me engaged, but it kind of dragged along a little bit. I would say that this movie is for anybody who likes Winnie the Pooh or is a fan of that or is a fan of these actors, or just kind of like period pieces that tell stories of people who achieve some serious fame because Winnie the Pooh kind of ruined him and his son's life. And which is the interesting part I didn't know about is that when people found out who the real Christopher Robin was based after, everybody went crazy for him. And it was one of the first global phenomenons like that we experienced with media during that time and how popular and huge Winnie the Pooh was. So very interesting story.
Sure.
If you like books or an authors, definitely check it out. But
Goodbye, Christopher Robin.
Goodbye, Christopher Robin.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. We got to watch some movies on the plane.
Yeah. So I saw your list, and I know we kind of were talking about sci-fi last episode with Matt from NFHC podcast.
Yeah. Like as soon as that podcast, or actually in the middle of it, I was like adding some stuff to my wish list. Like I should check this out.
Started dabbling a little Battlestar Galactica.
Okay.
But I did get through The Expanse season 1.
Okay.
And I saw that you kind of started watching that as well.
Yeah, I'm like 4 in. I think I'm 4 episodes in right now.
Okay, so I'm like halfway through season 2.
Okay.
What is your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I like it. It's good. I mean, it's different in that it mixes up, like you have the mystery detective kind of genre mixed in with the outer space stuff, and then you have a lot of like political stuff that may or may not coincide with stuff that's going on here on Earth currently. So I like stuff like that where it really kind of mashes up a lot of familiar things but it doesn't like preach to you, So it's still kind of grounded in familiarity because first of all, you have to accept these premises anytime you watch any of these like fantasy sci-fi movies or shows. Same with Game of Thrones. It's, like base level, it's like Dungeons and Dragons, but then there's all these like family dynamics. You have a lot of political stuff. So that's kind of what I like so far about The Expanse. It is definitely interesting show. I know it got canceled, right, by Sci-Fi, and then Amazon picked it up, so they're going to do a season 4.
Yeah, season 1 and 2 are available on Amazon Prime. Season 3 is not available for free yet.
Okay.
What I mentioned last episode is about that one is that there is a certain element of realism to it that you could see this as our trajectory as a human race. I guess the premise for those who haven't heard of The Expanse is we have colonized Mars at some point in the future, and Earth and Mars are now like two separate nations, so to speak. And Earth is all basically like the United Nations, and Mars is its own thing. And then both of us kind of compete for resources in the asteroid belt. And that's what leads to this weird political elements.
But then you have like a certain working class that's kind of doing all the work for these people.
Yeah, they're all in the belt.
That's creating like, so that's kind of how this show starts. It's not a big spoiler, but that's how the show starts. Is you're kind of having this tipping point where that working class is starting to have, they've had enough. So they're kind of lashing out at different people. So that's kind of cool.
You get your blue collar people because they were born at space stations along the belt, and they've never been on Mars, or they've never been on Earth. And Mars is very envious of Earth because they have blue skies and water, and they're still like terraforming the planet, so it hasn't been completed yet. So they need lots of resources. And so then there's those detective elements to it, where one guy's been hired by people on Earth to go find his rogue daughter who went missing and is believed to be on the space station huge space station that's out near the belt.
That's Thomas Jane, right?
Yeah, Thomas Jane.
Yeah, he's good.
Which he did a great job in this. And then there's other side stories that are kind of going on as well about these, I don't know what you say, like rookie folks that are on a space station, climbing rinks and stuff like that. So and just watching them do their normal like daily tasks and jobs that they do if you're in a spaceship that kind of is protecting this territory, patrolling the area. And so eventually all these characters and things in motion kind of collide as you kind of get through the series, and it's got an interesting pace and stuff so far, but I really dig it. I think it's a little bit.
Yeah, I do too. I like how Mike from Breaking Bad was in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
who was he? He was
like a captain that went like crazy. And,
he was in that.
He's all right, bye, Mike. It's like it's kind of like that movie we talked about. I've already forgotten the name of it. The William Neeson movie you made me watch.
Geostorm.
No, the one with the subway. Yeah.
The Commuter?
The Commuter, yes. It's just where you put these random like high name actors in for like 2 seconds, and it's like, all right, bye.
Yeah, it is a bit weird.
Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, yeah, I really like the show though. It's definitely engaging, and I was just reading an article on Vice, and they were comparing it to like a Game of Thrones kind of.
That's interesting. I'm interested to see what that comparison is, because I see it. I always thought that if I was a screenwriter, I would write just a really good story, and then I would apply that and adapt it towards like a certain point in time. Yeah. So for example, I would like to see like a medieval Sherlock Holmes or detective work that takes place way back then, or different courtroom dramas that take place at different periods of time.
You got Army of Darkness,
you got that. So it has these modern day story elements that you would see with like crime detectives, but it's in the future. Yeah. Which is kind of cool because they don't really explain a lot of elements. You kind of figure it out at the same time with technology and how certain things work.
Well, it's cool too with like it's a lot of stuff that's like, it could really happen. Like with the water shortages, the one guy's always trying to look for that perfect cup of coffee, and it's just like, it's not happening. So like these little kind of mundane things that we might take for granted now. It's like, oh yeah, I got my coffee maker, I'm fine. But it's like, in the future, you know what? You might not have that. We're already talking about water being an issue. So.
Yeah, because water is basically like gold out the asteroid belt because it all has to get imported. Everybody's on water rations. And it's got that guy. I also been watching The Terror, but one of the captains from The Terror is in this.
Jared Harris.
There you go.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and it's basically I played a video game a lot called Mass Effect.
Yeah.
This is basically the closest you can get if Mass Effect was made into like a TV show.
Oh, yeah. That's a good comparison, actually. I was kind of thinking that.
Yeah. It's the same type of space vibe, same type of characters and pace, similar type of music. But then it's what I really appreciate it, without spoiling anything to anybody, as well as you, since you're only 4 episodes into it, is that as it kind of just goes along and you don't really know like where is this heading, and then it really starts to ramp up the science fiction, so that continues to kind of escalate.
Yeah.
Right now you're kind of grounded in the same, laws and physics that govern our world. But then they start to introduce science fiction, real deep science fiction elements to it. And that's when the show really starts to get interesting.
Nice.
So you'll start to see that near the end of season 1.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah. You said you were watching The Terror. What do you think of that?
I like it. It's kind of like The Thing a little bit.
The Thing meets Master and Commander.
Yeah. I'm 7 episodes in.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I assume this is just a one and done series, right?
I read
the story's going to get wrapped up.
I read the book, and the series wraps it up pretty good. It's great, man. It's based on a true story. So like that the ships really went missing. They recently found one of them, the Erebus. But yeah, those are crazy times, man. Like they were just trying
they did find one of them?
Yeah, they found one of them. Those are crazy times though. Just like, not a lot of people think about, like, you're exploring new worlds and you need to have enough rations and a lot of the dynamics that go on when you're with the same group of dudes for, however many years. Stuff gets pretty hairy.
I really appreciate what they did to kind of show, to kind of set up. I know we talked about it before, but 2 ships are trying to find this Northwest Passage from England to basically have a faster trade route to China. Yeah, and so they're going up past Greenland, up over the Arctic, and trying to come down to China. And so they basically get kind of stuck out there to where it freezes, and then their 2 ships just get frozen out at sea, and they have to wait it out. And they have enough supplies to last them 3 or 5 years, 3 years, and then up to 6 years if they really ration. Yeah. And so they're basically, it's kind of all takes place on one set where the 2 ships are just frozen, and then people are just trying to survive. People are going crazy. There's sickness and all kinds of stuff that goes along with it. It's really cool, very unique story for a lot of stuff that's out there. And then there's like
there's a monster, stuff. But it's like, after, and this is great in the book too, is like, after a while, the monster really becomes like incidental. It's the terror is really like these people when they reach their most desperate moments. And that's pretty cool. I mean, just to show, it's like human nature when you're really stripped of everything. What happens,
the desperation and what people turn to.
Same stuff's explored in a lot of these like post-apocalyptic movies we've talked about. It's the same kind of theme, and I really dig it. So. And AMC does a good job with a lot of their shows, like especially their period pieces. So I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, it's good so far. So I'm looking forward to finishing that one up.
Nice.
The Terror. Yeah.
Terror.
AMC. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so let's get to, is there any news that caught your eye this
I got
this last week or two?
Couple things, a show that we don't really care too much about. And we've talked about this like way back a while ago, but I thought this was kind of a funny little story about it. I had a nice little chuckle. Stranger Things, there's season 3, and it was spoiled by some dumb kid who's on the show.
Explain without giving away those spoilers for those who are passionate about the show.
Look up the article, but it's Noah Schnapp, who plays Will Byers, and he's at some press conference or whatever it is, and he's taking questions from fans, and then he kind of lets slip like what happens to this dog Chester, who's been missing since season 1, and then you don't really see him in season 2. So he basically leaked what happened, and he was like, "Oh shit," then he tried to hush everybody up, but too bad, this is 2018 and people are filming everything, so. Video went on YouTube right away, and then everybody just kind of got all over the place, and so I thought it was funny. Like, whoops, this kid just
good job, kid.
Yeah, it's like maybe kids shouldn't be running press conferences for your shows. To leave it to the adults.
Yeah, not without a handler.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe John Lasseter's out of work. That handler could do this job now.
Well, I don't know if kids were his thing, but yeah, I mean, it's a well-made show. I think people are a little bit too goo for it in the wrong ways. I don't know. You can't just reskin nostalgia and sell it to me and expect me to think it's great.
Well, not for like a long period. I mean, if you made a movie out of it, it would be cool,
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's, I mean, I don't know, because it's like I have this argument with people. Oh yeah, have you seen Stranger Things? Such a great show. I'm like, it's all right, but
it's entertaining. It's well done.
It's not the best thing out there, though. I can give you 10 more things that are better, and it's like, like I see, then it's like, all right, we get it. You get Sean Astin from the Goonies. You got Winona Ryder. You got all these elements. The guy who plays the sheriff, I like him. He's really good. But it just comes to a point where it's like, all right, we get it. Like the 80s were whatever. It's not even the best decade to me. So it's like, if it was something else, maybe I could give a shit a little bit more. But,
sure.
Like they just talk about this dog, and then there's a little thing about the dog, how it was a nightmare to work with, wouldn't bark when it was supposed to. So, like people were, giving a bunch of shit to this poor dog.
Yeah. Well, I think that and
the dog's dead. That's the spoiler. Okay.
Dog's dead. Yeah. So
dog's dead. That's what this stupid kid said in the press conference. Yeah, the dog's dead, and they're going to be showing a gravestone for it in season 3. Whoops! And then everybody had to like freak out. But all right.
Yeah, I would say that I would agree with you. Is that it's clean, it's well made, but there's not really anything original about it, and it's all stuff you've seen before. Just kind of a big mashup of things that you like. Yeah. But I would say that my biggest gripe with it is I'm just not that entertained by like a kid, no offense to kids, but I don't know. I just don't really connect with these kids, and their acting is not that great. It's not like it's like that's probably the best thing I can compare it to, where if you watched it still has a bunch of kids, but thankfully they're not the most interesting thing about it.
Yeah. There's a lot of other issues going on.
Yeah, the kids are. I think that's the worst part about Stranger Things is I don't really believe that these are how kids are. When I was young, watched the Goonies, I thought those kids were cool because they were into doing cool stuff and they had these adventures. So like I related to it then, and so the audience, I guess, for today for Stranger Things, if it's an adult and they're really really into it. That's fine, but I guess for me, I just can't. I don't make that same connection anymore. It just doesn't.
I just read some article about how racist and like crazy the Goonies was. Like in the time it was like all right, but then it's like if you look back on it, there's some fat shaming in there. There's some like racist comments towards like Asian people. So it's like it's just kind of funny how these things don't really hold up too well because there's some stuff in there that not good.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's the news on this front. Some dumb kid ruined Stranger Things. Head for the hills. Yeah, but and better news. We've talked before about Quentin Tarantino, and he is actually like a closet Star Trek nerd. So they've been talking. Right now I know you posted something recently from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is probably my like most anticipated film of next year. Anytime that guy comes out with something, I'm down for it. But what he's doing after that will be Star Trek.
But he hasn't said he's directing it though.
Well, yeah, I mean, like that's what people are talking about. So the guy who plays Spock, Zachary Quinto, has shown that the project is going to have the same cast from the Abrams films. And so I guess he has some inside dope on what's going on, because this was announced back in 2017 last year. And then, Simon Pegg was like, well, that's an odd choice, like, he's like really into this stuff. But that's just kind of some speculation, but this is interesting. It's like someone from the inside, the camp has confirmed that this will probably be happening. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see his take on it. Like, I don't know, I think he just wants to get into sci-fi, to be honest with you, and this is like the best way he can do it because
it's a good opportunity for him, and I think he can do a good job with it.
Yeah,
and the cast is great. I mean,
that's the best
good cast for the Star Trek.
Yeah,
the last one was entertaining, but it didn't have a whole lot going for it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but anyways, I would say that I'm curious, I'm interested. We'll see what it goes from there.
I'm interested too, but it's again, Tarantino, he keeps his stuff pretty quiet for a while, and then stuff just starts to leak out, and then he also has stuff that he's done that he's been talking about for years, like Kill Bill 3, that you don't know if he's going to do it or not. He said before that some other movie would be his last movie, and it's like I don't see that guy doing anything else. He's a wonderful director and writer. I think he'll probably be doing it until he kicks the bucket, unfortunately. But, if he does start,
he's pump faked before.
Yeah, but it would be cool. Interesting is definitely the word for it. I think it's like they're cussing at each other all the time, and killing each other, a lot of blood.
I think he needs a challenge, and it's a good opportunity for him to kind of show his range as a director. I just hope that at some point Tarantino just gets recognized by his peers.
Yeah.
Because most directors don't write their own content.
No.
And that's what makes him different. So love or hate his movies, he's telling the stories that he wants to tell, and he's getting them made in Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean, there's really only like a handful of guys. Like there's Coens and P.T. Anderson, but not like a lot of other guys that are.
Alex Garland's up and coming. Paul Thomas Anderson, like you mentioned.
But Paul Thomas Anderson and Coens haven't really been, to me, as like consistent as Tarantino. Or even like a bad Tarantino movie.
Well, they don't have a brand like he does.
Yeah, that's true.
PTA's got a style.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have a brand. Like Tarantino's got his own way of doing things that is so unique to him that I don't really see anywhere else. So I think that's kind of what I appreciate about what he's got going for him. So sad news for me. Yeah, Indiana Jones 5 is delayed.
Moment of silence. All right.
Okay.
You okay, Sean?
Yes, we're gonna get through this.
All right,
but
let's do this.
I'm
here for you, bro.
I respect when they do this in Hollywood, and I'm glad it's delayed because you got to get it right, especially since people didn't quite take to Crystal Skull.
Me.
And I think also Solo, the Star Wars story, has kind of got people a little bit of reconsidering their work and kind of going like, is it really what we think it is?
Kind of like that movie's like a game changer in like all the worst ways. Like, you know what I mean?
It's not even fair.
It's not. I loved it. I thought it was a good movie.
It just shows you that if you poorly market something in a franchise like Star Wars, a lot of people are going to overanalyze what it is, because just having the Star Wars name, it should have killed it, but it didn't. So there has to be some truth that, once the honeymoon is over and I can kind of watch it again at home, and I already have my intuition in regards to what other people could be seeing. But without going any further into Solo, it has given people under the Disney umbrella a huge pause and just said, we really need to make sure we're getting these things right. Because there's even been rumors that I think Bob Iger has been pressured to oust Kathleen Kennedy, who's being accused of trying to get too many civil issues and gender equality and doing certain things into a Star Wars franchise that in theory was kind of made for 13-year-old boys.
Yeah.
And not saying that that's a good thing, because I think that it's great that you're starting to appeal to both men and women. But there's a huge fan base that was not,
it was
already pre-built in, that wasn't a female based fan base. And so
was made for 13-year-old boys by a man with a weak chin and a liking for flannel shirts tucked in.
Yeah, tight Wranglers,
Yeah.
So With all that being said, I think that Star Wars can still accomplish a lot of those things, but a lot of people are seeing their franchise turn into just a more watered down money machine. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, regardless of, people's opinions of each individual movie. We talked a lot about that. So let's move on. So this next indie movie that was supposed to be 2019, and then it got pushed a little bit to being a summer July movie for 2020, is now been delayed and is going to miss that spot. The reason why is because the script just isn't where it needs to be. And, so Kasdan is going to replace David Koepp, who's been working on the script, and he left for unknown reasons. And that might be because he also has his own, directorial effort underway. I read this on empireonline.com if you want to actually go and read more about it. But Jonathan Kasdan's taken over, and he's the son of the other Kasdan who did like Empire. And so he's
Lawrence Kasdan.
Yes, Lawrence. So he's got a good pedigree about him. He's going to take another crack at the script and clean it up a little bit. But his dad did Raiders, so there's really, no pressure there for him. But it's going to push things back a little bit.
That's good though that they're, because you'd think with these things there's always like a rush job, but it's good that they're actually like respecting this as a iconographic type of movie. Not that the other ones aren't, but they're kind of looking at this as, all right, let's like not botch this up. Let's take our time, regardless.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing. Yeah, you want to get it right. But the flip side of that is if it's a piece of shit, then they'll be like, all right, well, I guess time does not, is not the answer to everything. So, I mean, you might be damned if you do, damned if you don't, but inevitably, it's still a good thing that they're taking their time with this instead of this onslaught of whatever, Indiana Jones or whatever you got, It's a respect for the franchise. That's what I think it shows the most.
Well, the challenge is writing, and this is where they also kind of miss the boat in some respects with Crystal Skull. The challenge is writing a contemporary Indiana Jones for the age of Harrison Ford and keeping that interesting, because a lot of people that rag on how old he is are expecting him just to be the same old Indy. But you're really going to have to position it to where you play into his age for a reason and not really try to do like this handoff to like a Shia type character or something like that.
Like he takes takes a nap like halfway through the movie.
Yeah, you're going to need to.
We're going to go to the early bird dinner at Denny's.
So I'm curious to see where it goes and what they're going to do with it. But right now it's probably going to get delayed 6 to 12 months for when you would see it. And I just hope that Spielberg stays committed to doing it. So cross your fingers there. Moving on, I read 2 interesting articles about Johnny Depp. So first one I'm just going to talk about is that he confirmed that he acts with an earpiece. So this is a guy that, I read this article on Vulture and he was saying that Depp keeps a sound engineer on the payroll so that he could be fed lines through an earpiece while filming. And Depp did not deny it. And he basically said that saying the sounds fed to him helped make him act with just his eyes. So you read that and go, okay, but here I'll quote Depp here. He says, quote, "I've got bagpipes, a baby crying, and bombs going off. It creates a truth. Some of my biggest heroes were in silent film. It had to be behind the eyes, and my feeling is that if there's no truth behind the eyes, doesn't matter what the fucking words are." So it's not like he's getting just what your line is, but he's hearing like this weird stuff and reacting to that so that he can act like with his eyes, whatever the hell that means.
He's a weird guy.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get what it's implying.
Yeah.
But again, so that was just an interesting thing because it's not something you really hear about actors having sound piped into their head that influence it. So I think there could be some, if I understood it a little bit better, rather than how you described it, I probably could appreciate it more.
But it's
who
like
knows?
this big reveal, you know.
Yeah, there really no reveal there.
Like,
Other than going, so you're getting the sound of a baby crying pumped into your head while you're doing your scene. Anyway, so Rolling Stone also published this huge profile of Johnny Depp, and it's really good. But it's
I gotta read that.
It's kind of sad and depressing, to be honest. And it's this guy that spent 72 hours with Depp, and was just kind of saying that, you know, some of the headlines were that Johnny Depp thinks he's really funny, but he's not. He spent $7,000 on Kim Kardashian's old furniture for like his kid because she loved the show. You know, Depp also suggests that spraying narcotics over the Middle East would have led to a speedier capture of Osama bin Laden.
Oh, sure.
So, quote, you get a bunch of fucking planes, big fucking planes that spray shit, and you drop LSD 25, he says. You saturate the whole fucking place. Every single thing will walk out of their cave smiling and happy. So that's his take on Middle East issues.
Okay.
His lawyers got ties to the Trump scandal.
Would say.
Yeah, I know. It totally is like right up that alley. And that his bad boy image is just kind of just turned into creepiness. And so he kind of ends it here with this. I'll read this one last bit from this story. So that the author wrote, he says, let me get the author's name just out of my respects there. What's his name here? Rolling Stone, Johnny Depp, Stephen Roderick. Okay. So the last thing he said, spending time with Depp, is that jet lagged. I tell Depp I need to get some sleep. He looks disappointed, but leads me down a dark corridor that twists and turns. In my sleep-deprived haze, I think I might be about to be disappeared. Then a door opens and a giant man wearing a surgical mask appears, and I shout in fear. What the fuck? Depp laughs. That's just one of my security guys. He got the flu. He'll make sure you get out safely, he says, and gives me a half hug. We'll talk in justice tomorrow. Or as Donnie Depp would say, we'll talk in justice tomorrow. Something like that. So on the face,
I gotta go shoot Murder on the Orient Express. So I might be a little
so
late.
the author says, on its face, that detail doesn't necessarily suggest anything bad about Depp. Celebrities do live in big houses after all, and they do have security guards. And if the guard is wearing a mask because of his flu, that's just all responsible hygiene. But it's a series of details that makes the profile feel unsettling, as though spending time with Depp meaning entering a world of instability, a place that is unsafe in some sad way, not in a sexy way. And so he ends his article with just a quote, I want to go home, but feel reluctant to leave. One of the most famous actors in the world is now smoking dope with a writer and his lawyer while his cook makes dinner and his bodyguards watch television. There's no one around him who isn't getting paid. And that just kind of sums up like his current lifestyle or whatever. Seemed kind of sad.
Yeah, sad and weird.
Yeah, sad and weird. But yeah, those are the couple that I had here. The last one I've got, which I thought was a very interesting one, I want to talk with you about. Vince Gilligan, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, X-Files. You all know him and love him. He told Variety that he thinks it's time for heroes on TV again. In other words, like, let's move on past the Tony Sopranos, Don Drapers, Walter Whites, the anti-heroes. And he proposes this because of the current, political climate, and that there should be a resurgence of a different kind of leading character for people to rally behind. And so he basically went on to...
How about a biology teacher that makes crystal meth?
Yeah, I know.
That's good.
He went on to say, like, quote, I watched a lot of TV growing up, a lot of the 50s and 60s reruns, and back then, the order of the day was you had folks wearing white hats, you had folks wearing black hats. There were good guys and bad guys, but real people are various shades of gray. And with Walter White and loving The Sopranos and The Shield, maybe now we've got so many of them that... where to go? That maybe it's time for heroes again.
When he first said that, I thought he was trying to resurrect the show Heroes.
No, that show's terrible.
Yeah, okay. I'm like, good. I didn't want to really go down this road with you, so I'm glad we're talking.
Yeah, So he quotes a lot of good shows and kind of says that. And I think it's just an interesting thing because a lot of the heroes and people that we have on TV that we love are pretty flawed. And that's what makes them very interesting to watch. I mean, Walter White is more interesting to watch than a Clark Kent.
Yeah.
But I do see the point that with today's political climate and society and everything going on, it probably wouldn't hurt to have maybe somebody that's a little bit more of a positive hero, I guess.
Yeah. No, I like that. Because it seems like that's been kind of the MO for many years. And that's
a
like,
long time.
Coming from like a literature background, that's cool in some books, but it's like not every book should have, it would make a kind of a boring read if every single main, protagonist in a book was like kind of an anti-hero guy, So I think you do need something, I can tell he's not like trying to bring like, let's return to morals and values. It's like, no, we've kind of had the same thing for a while. Let's go with something different, or let's go back to something that we used to have that it kind of went away for a while, which it has.
Yeah. You need to have, I guess, a little bit more, positive role models, like, somebody that's going to inspire you to be a better person rather than an entertainment.
Not a murderer.
Focused. Yeah, not a murderer. But anyways, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, so if he's going to take the charge on that, is there anything like he's talking about doing, or like what's he up to? I mean, is he doing?
He's still doing Better Call Saul, and I guess the next season's supposed to be super rad. They actually are showing up at Comic-Con, and he is trying to find a way to get Jesse and Walt back on the show in some capacity.
Yeah.
And there are some new characters he's bringing back into the fold for season 3 that he hasn't really detailed yet. There's some cartel folks that were mentioned in the first season that by name that are actually going to be, actors this time around.
Yeah.
So really looking forward to that. Starts, I think, sometime in July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, July or early August, but
okay.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Good show. I like that show.
Yeah, it's great. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, I failed my mission. I accepted it, but failed it. I hadn't watched Carnage, but I did task Ryan to watch Jungle. So did you accept this mission, Ryan?
I did. I actually accepted it like the night you told me to, take the mission. So I was like, yeah, I got nothing, I could watch this. But so Jungle is based on a true story about a guy. He's just kind of like this loafer, he bumps around different countries, early 80s, and he decides to go on this little mission into the jungle, hence the name of the movie, Jungle. And it's just kind of like craziness ensues, and it turns into this, without giving too much away, it turns into like a survival story. So at first, I'm a little reticent because Harry Potter is in it.
He's Harry Potter.
He's like the main guy, and it's like
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, I haven't really seen any of those movies anyway, so I give a shit. But I accepted your challenge, of course. I really like this movie. I like those kind of movies with the survival aspect to them. So it was really kind of up my alley, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film.
Nice.
I had a good time. I even took it a step further, and the next day I watched another Harry Potter movie without Harry Potter. I watched another Daniel Radcliffe movie. So.
Did you watch Swiss Army Man?
No, I watched Imperium, where he plays an undercover skinhead.
Oh, okay. How was that?
Yeah, so it was pretty good.
Okay,
but it's really that kind of stuff to me is a little unsettling. Like American History X is way more of a horror movie to me than Friday the 13th. Because that stuff is just it's cringy and it's just kind of messed up. But Jungle, definitely recommend it. It's goes pretty quick, but it's kind of cool with those true based. In the beginning of the movie, it's like this is based on a true story. It's like, oh, here we go. I wish they didn't always do that with certain films. But, they did in this movie. So it's kind of cool, though. You go back and you read up a little bit about it afterwards. And, it sticks to the story pretty well. So.
Good. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, really. I did watch it as well, and I enjoyed it. But again, it's so stereotypical status quo survival movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where the actor goes through all this pain and torture, loses a bunch of weight. But it's an interesting story. I like the story. I like the mystique around the guy that led them to where they're at and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's on Amazon Prime if you're looking for something entertaining.
It was cool. Like it was a little different. Not like, I don't know if every kind of survival movie does this, but it really shows like his psychology and how he dealt with the situations he was in, which are crazy. And if anything, this movie makes the argument that, white people should not go into the woods.
Yeah.
Because it's like every time something bad happens and, it just doesn't go well ever.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It really shows like, his psychology and his kind of the things he thought about to help him cope with these situations. I thought that was pretty cool how they did that. So
nice.
Thumbs up. Better than Geostorm, I'm sure.
Better than Geostorm. Yeah, it was. Okay, so I still have Carnage on my list.
All right.
I'm going to carry that one into this week, unless you want to renew that token.
No, go ahead. You watch it. It's a good movie.
All right. So I have a new one for you.
Go ahead.
All right. It is called What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is...
have you seen this?
Guy from Flight of the Conchords, right?
Yes. Have you seen it?
No, but I've wanted to see this. Now I kind of verify that it might be a good thing to watch. So,
so I watched it. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
I watched it last night, and it is. I thought it was really funny.
Okay.
It is totally weird. Basically, the premise is.
Well, don't tell me everything.
No. Here's just the premise on IMDb. So if you guys want to watch it along, I encourage you. There's these 4 vampires who are finding that modern life has them struggling with the mundane, like paying rent, keeping up with the chore wheel, trying to get into nightclubs, and overcoming flatmate conflicts. So it's filmed kind of like The Office, where there's like a documentary crew hanging out with these 4 weird vampires in their house, and they're all like really old and have like these old legacies, but now they're all just kind of like, worn out, nobodies.
Yeah.
And it's just, they do a pretty good job with it. It's got a handful of the guys from Flight of the Conchords in it. A couple other actors. It all takes place in New Zealand that I didn't know. But it's pretty funny. It's super quirky and weird. They have pretty cool special effects and stuff that they do in it. So this isn't one of those ones that's kind of like a gotcha, but it's it's one of those movies that you may not actually click and watch if you see it scrolling by in Amazon Prime. But I took the chance and I thought it was pretty funny. So
nice.
What We Do in the Shadows came out in 2014. It's a quick one. It's like an hour, 26 minutes.
Okay.
It's a comedy horror film.
You got me.
It's
I could tell
it's
you
stupid
like it.
funny. Yeah. You'll dig it. There's some really great scenes in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It's been on my list for a while. I'm just like, I don't know. It looks interesting, but maybe I'll get to it after the 200 other things I have to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
But now it's at the top of my list.
Bam.
Yes.
All right. What else we got on the agenda for today?
Well, we got July 4th coming up, so maybe recommend a film to watch for July 4th.
Okay. You have anything in mind?
Listeners? I just wanted to. I can give one. You can give one if you want.
Yeah, let's do a couple.
Yeah, so I could think of one with July 4th is kind of like celebrating early independence and just America in general, just to kind of give you time to reflect on what it means to be an American. Maybe have some barbecue, which has nothing to do with being an American, but just kind of enjoy the fireworks as well. So one thing if I'll probably be watching it after What We Do in the Shadows, just to remind me of how great our country is and how it started and founded. One thing I like is John Adams on HBO. I think that's be a great show to watch on the 4th of July. What do you think, Sean?
That's a long one.
Yeah, well, if you have the whole day to kill like I do,
yeah, that's a good 12 hours right there.
Yeah.
I love John Adams. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Giamatti is awesome in it.
Yeah.
Very interesting. For me, I'm more of a Jaws kind of guy.
Okay.
For a 4th of July type movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I know everyone's going to say Independence Day, but I can't recommend that movie to anybody.
Yeah.
No. And then you got your obvious like Born on the 4th of July with Tommy Cruise there, or Thomas Mapother.
To Oliver Stone though. Yeah, Thomas Mapother III.
Yeah, he's also Top Gun's another 4th of July type movie.
There you go. You're dangerous. You're dangerous, Maverick.
Yeah, I know. There's some good ones. I mean, you can get into like The Patriot with Mel Gibson if you want to watch something a little more rough.
There's a show I've watched a little bit of. It's called Turn.
I've seen 1 or 2 seasons of that.
Not too bad, right?
Yeah, it's a good premise.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like there's a ton of these like kind of I was thinking more colonial era, like take it all the way back. But there's not like a ton of those out. Like you said. So
no, there's not.
Go with what you got.
Yeah, take it what you can. If you if you want something fun, be like the Sandlot. That's a good 4th of July type of themed movie. But if you want to, but then those are movies that the 4th of July is a theme within the movie. But yeah, Last of the Mohicans is great.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, I will find you.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah. Old Danny Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are some.
Quit acting to make shoes. Basically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what he did.
Yeah, any war movie is a good one to watch that involves American troops.
Yeah. Except
can't
for
really
the
go
one
wrong there.
Except for the one with the fake baby in it.
Which one?
American Sniper.
Oh yeah, yeah.
See with a fake baby, and it's baby? Like I like literally just went. I'm tapping out. I'm done. as soon as I saw that scene, I hit eject on the DVD player.
If you want one movie to rule them all, now's a good time to watch Forrest Gump. So
yes,
that's a good all around American movie to kind of check out.
America
or Team America. That's what I'm thinking.
America. I was going to say that one too. Yeah,
yeah. Of course you will. Sweet.
Yeah.
So
that's just hopefully you'll have a good 4th of July and try one of our movie picks, except for Independence Day.
Yes, no Independence Day. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Ryan, take us home.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening, everybody. 30th episode, we didn't do anything really special, but we're hoping to have 30 more. So if you like us, check out our website, theharschreview.com. You can check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/Harsch Review. Check out our Facebook page. Check us out on Instagram.
At the Harsch Review is the way you say that one.
Yeah. At the Harsch Review.
That's on the Twitter thing.
On the old Twitter. Facebook, Instagram. Also support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/the Harsch Review. We'll be back next week with some new stuff. Hopefully, Sean will have watched the movie that he failed to watch.
Yeah, I'll get around to it. You're picking these old crusties there.
Hey, it's not that old crusty. It's got some current actors in it.
It's like 25 years old.
Carnage?
Yeah, isn't it?
No, it's like 5-6 years old.
Oh, that's the other movie you picked. The first one.
Christoph Waltz is in it.
Okay. Well, that dude's old too.
Yeah, he's great.
I'll get to it.
All right. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
We'll see you next week. I'm your host, Ryan.
I am Sean.
Bye.
See you later.
Happy 4th of July.